Hi guys, Crafty Crystal here. This is the last of these throws that I made, and I'm using it for my introduction because I'm using the same colors and it shouldn't confuse you much. I'm using amethyst, turquoise, macaw, pretty in pink, and candy print. And these are all Red Heart Super Saver yarns. The finished size should be between 38 and 42 inches. And I'm going to do my very best to make this the last one that you'll need to look at, so that you'll know exactly how to make this. And one more thing. I went to my WordPress page, Crystal's Connections, and I added a photo tutorial of exactly where on the edge, what two threads to use and how to do it. That should help tremendously because that's where most of you have your problems on. So let's get started and see how we can do this. The yarns you will need for this project, you need a pretty good idea to buy 3 7-ounce skeins of your solid colors and 2 5-ounce skeins of your variegated. This is the center variegated Red Heart Super Saver candy print, and this one is 236 yards. Now this one you'll only use about half of. So if you have like 150 ounces or something left over of something you want to use, it'll work for this. This one is pretty in pink. It's a 7-ounce skein, and I'll use probably half of it. This will get almost totally used up. This is your macaw, and that's the second variegated. These two, this one will use most of 7-ounce skein, and the 7-ounce skeins are 364 yards. So I'd say you need at least probably pretty close to 300 yards. Okay, and of this one you will use an entire, this is amethyst, and you will use an entire 7-ounce skein of this. You'll have a scrap left. So you have your turquoise, your amethyst, your macaw, your pretty in pink, and I never can remember this one, candy print. Okay, candy print, and that's what I use for for this project. Okay, I'm using an eye hook, and the Red Heart thread is number 4 worsted, 4 weight, and there's no reason why you can't use anything as small as a crochet thread and the little metal hooks to a K or an M and jumbo thread. You can use anything you want, and you'll have a different type of project. You can have anything from a rug to a baby throw to a doily. Really, I've seen some beautiful things that people have made with this pattern. Okay, to start, we use a magic circle. I'm starting with the candy print. Bring it from the back of my hand over my big finger, around my second 2 fingers twice. Hold on to the end. Bring the other end up and hold on to it. That gives me tension in here that makes it easy to work with. I pull my hook up under those 2 little threads and across the big one. And when I pull it back like this and around, it twists the thread, and that gives me something that I can draw the hook through to make my slip knot. Oh, come on, don't catch. There we go. Now, when you make the magic circle, your end tassel should be on the same side that your crochet hook is pointing at. You notice I'm not saying left or right because I'm left-handed and I want to turn this film over for both people. All right. So now we're going to start a regular granny square. So I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to put 2 more double crochets into the center circle. And that's the first cluster of our granny. Chain 3, and make 3 double crochets. And this together is what you call a corner cluster. All through the whole thing you will have this as your corner cluster. 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets. Chain 3, and we're going to put 2 more sets of clusters. Now for those of you who are going to say I didn't show you how to make a double, I'm sorry. You wrap your thread, you go into the center, you pull a loop up. You wrap your thread, pull it through 2 loops, wrap your thread, pull it through 2 loops, and that's called a double. In the UK, I believe it's called a triple. This is American terms. Wrap your thread. When I say double, this is what I mean. American terms. Okay? Wrap, go into your stitch, in this case it's a circle, pull it through 2, pull it through 2. And I'm going to chain 3, and I'm going to put my last set of doubles in here. I am a bit of a tight crocheter, though I'm really trying not to be. I'm trying to learn to crochet looser. Okay, now I'm going to chain 3, and it's time to close our magic circle. So first you pull the loose one to find out which one is shrinking. Do you see this one get smaller? You pull this one in the same end of the loop as your loose tag comes out of. And you pull it and see how it makes the bottom one smaller? Pull that nice and tight. And then you take this one and you pull it tight. Then we cut it and get rid of it. Cut it and forget it. It's got all these loops around it twice. So it's already as if you made your loop, cut it, and took the crochet needle and put it around there twice and pulled it tight. So you're okay. Now, you need to put it in the top of your chain. And if you're not sure where to do it, always go backwards. This post here has this loop on it. This post here has this loop on it. So the next loop back, no matter what, is the top of your chain. I'm going to go in the top of that, in the middle of it, I should say, and I want to go through one of the strings of this second hook. It gives me a good, strong connection, and it's not thick and sticking out. It works good for me. Now, turn and chain 2 or 3, depending on what you normally do for a double. I like to chain 2 on this situation because it gives me a smaller area between the two. Why can't I think this morning? Okay, so we need to slip stitch onto the top of our chain on this side. And to find out which one that is, in case you get uh, confused, each loop on here belongs to the next shaft. This loop belongs to this one. So the next loop behind it belongs to our chain. So we come to the loop and back, and I like to go to that loop and one of the threads of this other chain next to it. Gives me a nice strong flat connection. Okay? Now chain 1, 2, and turn. And yes, you need to turn your rows on your inner square. Now we're going to put 2 double crochets into this corner. So this counts as the 3rd double crochet. Chain 3 and put 3 more double crochets. And this gives us our new corner group. No chain in between. We go directly to the next corner. And we're going to do another corner group. This is always called a corner group. The 3, 3, 3. Okay? So we're going to make another corner group, and that's 3 double crochets, chain 3, don't drag on me, babe, and 3 double crochets. Our first color is all corners. We have 4 corners down here and 4 corners up here and nothing in between. And here's our 3rd corner. No in-between chain, go directly to your next corner. And this is our last corner. With the first one of these I made, I wasn't sure what I was doing and I didn't want to hide any ends. Kept all my ends out until I was sure. Because when I had to take it apart, oh, you do not want to try to find your ends when they've been woven in. So we have the loop that belongs to this one, the loop that belongs to this one behind it. It's the one we use for our slip stitch. And I need another thread. There. Now what I like to do in these is I like to pull this thread here till the one in front of it pops down in. You can feel it when it pops. Down and out of sight. I use my fingernails to hold it while I tighten it down. And there's the teeny weeny little knot that you have. I really don't like big knots. Okay, I'm going to tie my end in and bring out the next color. I'll pull my loop through, go around both threads, drop my tail, and I'm going to chain 2. Now, in the same space, and you notice we're on the front, we have to turn and work on the back. We've got to go in the other direction. So, we put our cluster here, and the back is facing us. You can tell the front, because on the front, your last set of stitches, the tops of them face you. If you're facing away from you, you're on the back. Okay, now no stitch in between. You wrap and go right into the corner and do a corner set. So that's 3 doubles. Chain 3 and 3 doubles. Now this is the first time we have space in between the corners to put a set in. The other rows we didn't. So we're going to go right into that and put 3 double crochets for another cluster. And without chaining in between, we go right to the corners and put another corner cluster in. It's really hard to stay quiet. We go right into the next center between these two. And go right into the corner. I do talk a lot, but I usually talk when I'm with friends. And I guess like some people cannot talk without moving their hands, it's hard for me to move my hands without talking. Okay, we're coming on our last side. No chain in between, remember. And I like to say what I'm doing as well as show. Last corner, guys. So if something goes out of focus, or my hands go out of sight, I'm telling you what I'm doing, where I'm doing it. 1, 2, 3. What I'm doing this time is I've got the camera closer and lower and close to my forehead. Let's see, that end goes over here. Now, this stitch goes with this column, this stitch goes with this column, this stitch goes with this column. Go through 2 threads and slip stitch. So I'm going to chain up 2, turn it, I'm going right down, back down the same hole that we just made by closing it. Okay. So now we are going to repeat exactly what we did on the last row. Only this time we have 2 clusters to add to each side. So I want to finish this corner cluster, corner set. Okay. You go right to the next hole between clusters. Whoops. Helps if you wrap first, Chris. There we go. And we do our 3 clusters, our 3 doubles, and make our cluster. Oh, I think I need my coffee this morning. Okay. So now we've done 2 clusters on the side. We're going to go back and do our next corner, 2 clusters on this side, our next corner set, 2 clusters on this side, our next corner set, 1 cluster here, and then we'll come back and slip stitch over here. So you go ahead and meet me over here. Alright, back around here. First stitch, second stitch, and here's your chain. Right through there, slip stitch it, and this time we're cutting it off so we can add our next color. Pull it back so it's down in. Up the pop. Pull it tight. There you have it. Okay. This is the side we ended on because you can see that the stitches are facing us. So we turn it and go in the middle of any side, any of these 3 sides, the 4 sides here. We start our next color. I'm using the same method I did before. And chain 2. Just 1 count, 3. And we're going to do 2 double crochets in the same gap. Okay, and here's where we'll end when we come around. So, right down to the next gap, 3 double crochets. Without an extra stitch, we go right into the corner and do a corner cluster. 3 double crochets. Chain 3 and 3 double crochets. We go right to the very next gap and put 3 double crochets in. You put 3 double crochets in every single gap and a corner cluster on every chain 3 on each corner. Okay, meet me around and come back to here. All right, 3, 2, 1. This is the stitch we go into. A slip stitch. Slip stitch back into the stitch you were just in. Chain 2. Or you can chain 3. If your chain 3 has too big of a gap between it and your other 2, like this, then you might want to go back to you might want to use the 2 chain. See this? This is what I like to avoid. I thought I'd show you that because you guys want to know why I do what I do. So I'm back to chain 2 and 2 double crochets in the hole. Okay, go right to the next gap. We do just what we did in the last row. 3 double crochets in each gap and a corner cluster on each chain 3 corner. Okay, nothing new under the sun as far as this granny is concerned. Chain 3, and right over to the first gap and 3 double crochets. Just like the last round, you do a cluster in every gap and you do a corner in every chain 3 on every corner. Okay? Okay. So, meet me back around here and we'll finish off this color. Okay, back around as usual. 3, 2, and 1. Alright, slip stitch. And that's it for that color. Okay, you get your next color out. In this case, it'll be turquoise. And I'm going to go ahead and put my ends in. And I'll meet you back here. Alright, next color. This is our front. This is the front of the row we just did. So we're going to turn it around to the back. Go in the middle hole. It doesn't matter what middle hole. Your slip stitch. Get out of there. And 1 and 2 and 2 more double crochets in the same gap. I'm pretty sure you can tell what we're going to do next. We're going to put 3 double crochets in every gap and a corner cluster in every chain 3 corner. And that's all it is. Gets a little bigger every time. We get an extra cluster on each side. And that's about it. I've got a knot coming up. There we go. So, all you need to do is do what we've been doing the last few rows. Corner cluster in every corner. And 3 double crochets in every gap. Okay, so you go around and meet me back here after our first row, and we'll go up to the second row. See you then. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Slip stitch. Slip stitch back under here. Pull a loop up if you want. Now, when you slip stitch, you get this little bar. And I really don't like the bar. See that little bar? If you want to avoid the bar, you go under pull up both loops, and then do 1, 2 on top of that, and turn. And then we do 2 more double crochets in the gap. I'm just trying to show you that there are so many options in how you want to do it. You don't have to start it with a magic ring. You don't have to chain 2. You can chain 3. You don't have to slip stitch. You can make a slip stitch on new yarn and add it on that way. I'm showing you my way of doing it, but you have a lot of ways that you can go. And no more surprises. We're doing exactly the same as we did before. Okay, so go ahead and make your corner clusters and your 3 double crochets in each gap on the side, and meet me back here and we'll put on our last color. 3, 2, 1. Get in there and you know, sometimes it's so easy I can do it with my eyes closed, but sometimes it just does not want to cooperate. Okay, now this is our 4th color. And I'm going to put our 5th color on, and then I'm going to go back and do in my ends. So you guys can be crocheting and waiting for me. Alrighty. So again, we want a middle. Alright. Put my 2 loops through. Dot my tail. Chain 2. And just like before. Now this color will not end like all the others because it's an edge. But the 1st and 2nd row is all exactly the same as the other colors. Okay, so you go ahead and I'm going to let you do both your rows by yourself. Now meet you back and we're going to work on that pesky slip stitch border and how to use it, okay? So I will see you back here when you're all done with your 2nd row of purple. Don't forget to turn. And then we're going to start the difficult part, okay? Bye-bye. Okay, the slip stitch row. With the outside, with the front side of the last row facing you, you have the tops of the stitches tilted towards you. We're going to put the slip stitch in this front edge here. Okay, and we're starting off center, or it's on center, but this is where we'll be putting our extra chain stitch, and we're past that. So we'll do that when we come back. I have some markers ready. So let's get started on this. Go up from the bottom, grab a loop, pull it through the loop on our hook. Go up from the bottom, grab a loop, like this. We're going to do this all the way along. Make sure it is not real tight. Make sure you don't pull it tight. Don't put tension on your yarn. Just go up, grab the loop, pull it through loosely and loosely. See? No pulling, no puckering. Okay, I'm going to slip around here, literally. Okay, on the corners, you also want to put it on top, and you also want to be very careful to make them loose, because you are turning a corner. Make it a little bit looser on the very corner one, and you don't want to draw these in. There we go. Okay, now this is the last loop on this set of 3. This is the first loop on this set of 3. Between these 2 loops, you want to chain 1. So we chain 1, and then we go back and slip stitch in the next. Okay. There. You can use a little, one of those little plastic markers or metal markers if you have them, but this is just as easy and a lot more available. See the difference in the border? Even if you're not planning on making this two-sided, this makes a lovely, distinctive edge. And it's a nice wide platform to work on. Okay, go ahead and single crochet around. When you come back to here, we'll add the last stitch. Make sure you have your markers in every single one of your single crochets in the middle. See there? It should look like that when you pull it out. A little loop here, a loop here, and a loop here. Alright, catch you back when we finish this row. Okay, I'm at the exact spot. I put my slip stitch into the stitch on this side. I started on this side. So we're going to chain 1. Slip the marker in. And come over here and slip stitch on this side. Okay, now we can cut off. Now that you have the locations of each of your chain 1 marked, we're going to go back and we're not going to use them. This is, see here, this is the front of your chain stitch. Right here. Okay? What you want to do is you want to get 2 lines behind it. Any 2 lines behind it. This way you have your full line in front to hide your center attachment, and you still have your back stitch to hide it back here. And that is where you want to relocate your center stitches. Now, I'm going to show you where on the edge you're going to be anchoring all your sides. Now if you look up here, you have your front slip stitch. You have the back loop of your top stitch. In between is these two little guys. I'm going to show you an alternate thread in a minute. Just trust me on this. You skip one loop next to your center, skip one loop, go to the next loop, and you're going to go behind the slip stitch into this top one and the one right behind it. Bring through a marker. Skip one, go through the next one and the little one behind it, and bring up a marker. Okay. Now you can do this all along the front if you wish. You skip this one, you go into the next one. In the front, and through the little one and back of it. And the markers go. There you are. Now this is the one you're in. You skip this one, and you go into your next one, and the one behind it. And now you're ready to add your first color on. Okay. Now I'm going to show you on the alternate color. I did this so you could tell exactly what you're doing and why. This is your front slip stitch. This is the front edge that you went up into to make your slip stitch, showing on the top here. Behind it is the hump side of your slip stitch, and behind that is the back of your top stitch. So front of your top stitch, back of your top stitch, slip stitch, and the hump side. Now, when you're going from front to back, it's easy to find the big stitch and the one behind it. Really easy. Coming from back to front, not so easy, because the slip stitch is kind of buried back here, the hump side. And when you go under it and sneak over to the other side, it takes you a little longer, and it really slows down your crochet. So, starting on your slip stitch side, if you just go through, pull through a marker, go through, pull through a marker, then when you're ready, no matter what side you're on, you just pull the marker up, and there's the loops for you to work on. Okay? So that's what your edge actually looks like if it was two colors. And we've got all our markers for our first color. Now, our first color is the variegated pink, called Candy Print. So, we don't go into the center to start. We go one step up. This is where it anchors, and this is where our center actually goes. So, with the slip stitch side facing you, pull up, sneak through, see? It gives you your spot to do it. Okay, with the proper size hook, I pull my slip knot through, chain one, tighten that again, wrap, and go through your center thread. If you pull it up, it helps you to follow it through with your hook. And we're going to do 3 double crochets in this hole. Okay, I can find it easy without this one now. chain 3, and go back in that same hole with 3 more double crochets. Now, it doesn't look like it's dipping into the stitches on front, and it doesn't look like it's dipping into the back, and that's what you want. Now we're going to chain 1. We're going to go down into the next marker, and do a slip stitch. Chain 1, slip stitch, chain 1 on every odd or beginning layer of your colors. Then we chain 2, and we come up and we do a single crochet in our next marker space. That gives us a chain 1 space. This is where we'll do our next cluster at. The anchor for our next cluster. Okay? Now we turn. And we do 2 more double crochets down into this chain 1 space. And there we have our first cluster of our second row. Now we do a regular corner cluster. Whoops. Three double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets. And now we're going to come up here to our chain 1 space here, and we're going to do our next cluster, our last cluster of this color. Get out of the way, Charlie. Three double crochets in that chain 1 space. Every even row, or every second row, or every last row of your 2 color things comes into ends with a single crochet. So we start a single crochet right here, and this is where we're going to tie it off. Okay, so now we have a single crochet space here to start our next, to anchor our next level. We have a single crochet space here to anchor our next level. So first thing we're going to do, there's a skinny crochet hook, skip 1, go to the next. Whoops. Skip 1, go to the next. It's a lot harder going back to front than it was front to back, let me tell you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn this around to the front anyway. Makes it easier. This is the one we used last, so we skip 1, go to the next. Skip one, go to the next. Okay, now we're ready for our next color, which is, let's take you out. I didn't mean to take you out, Charlie. Mean old Chrissy. There we go. Now, we'll take our pretty in pink. I'm sure there's an end around here somewhere. There we go. And with the slip stitch side facing you, because you're adding a new color, you put your hook in there. This is a first, the first stitch of a color. So you slip stitch and chain one. Okay. Now we wrap and we do 3 double crochets in this single crochet space down here. Okay. We wrap and we go to the next space in between stitches, clusters, and we do a cluster. And chain 3. And do a cluster. Our corner cluster is complete. Go in between our next 2. We come down here to our single crochet space and we do our last cluster of this first row of our second color. Now we come up here and we're going to chain 1. Every odd color, every beginning row of the color, we do a chain 1 slip stitch on each end, or a slip stitch chain 1 as we did over here. So we chain 1, slip stitch into our hole, and that completes that row. So to start the next row, we're going to chain 2, and that's going to be the first double crochet of our next cluster. So we see, I was going to chain 1 again. Okay. We go into our next marked place, and we do a single crochet. All second rows is single crochet. All first rows is chain 1. And we turn. Okay. Now we're going to do another 2 double crochets down here, and we end up with our first cluster of our row 4. We do a cluster in each gap. And our corner cluster. Chain 3. Oh, be nice. and a cluster in each gap on the way back to the edge. And on the edge we have this chain one space. We're going to go into it and do our last cluster on our side. Now all we need to do is anchor the top, and we're going to anchor it with a single crochet. So we just go through our marker, our marked space, do a single crochet, and we can tie it off. There. So we have our first color, we have our second color, and center row we started with a slip stitch, chain one, did our center corner cluster, and we anchored it with a chain one and a slip stitch, chained three, anchored it with a single crochet, came down here and did the rest of our cluster, corner group, cluster, and anchored it with a single crochet. Next one, we slip stitch and chain one, we do our clusters around, and we end this first row with a chain one slip stitch. First row of each color, chain one, slip stitch, chain one, okay? Then we chain three, anchored it with a single crochet, did our groups around, came back over here and anchored it with a single crochet. Now all we have to do is make our next markers and add our next color. Alright, I have my markers in place and I'm ready to add my macaw. I've got the slip stitch edge facing me. And like I usually do, I'm going to slip stitch and chain one. I'll pull this, pull this. Alrighty then. Now, we come down into the single crochet space below. And we put our 3 double crochets. Okay, do your bunches around, and we'll come back over and put in this part. Okay, last cluster in the single crochet space below. And because this is the first row of a color, we connect it with a chain one and slip stitch. Okay, now to start the second row of this color, we come up here to our next anchor and we enter it and connect with a single crochet. Second row, single crochet. First row, chain one, slip stitch. Second row, single crochet. And we turn and do our next 2 double crochets in that chain 1 space below. And there's our first cluster. And you go around to here, and we close this off with a single crochet. Okay, we're around to our end in our single crochet space. We put our 3 doubles. Come up to our next marker, and anchor it with a single crochet. All right. All right, we're ready for our turquoise. I put 2 more markers in, and this is all you need at this time. Put my stitch in there. And slip stitch. And chain 1. All right. In our last single crochet space, we're going to put our 3 double crochets as normal. Go ahead and put your stitches around to here. Go ahead and put your last cluster here, chain 1 and slip stitch into here, and then wait for me. Alrighty, we chain 1, slip stitch, pull out our marker, now chain 3 and turn. Do 2 more half double crochets, 2 more double crochets into the chain 1 space. And we just got this little thing sticking out here without being connected to anything. And that's how it's supposed to be. Now you go ahead and do all of your clusters around and meet me at the other end, okay? Okay, we come down into our chain 1 space here, put in our last cluster, and now we're going to chain 1, 2, pull out a loop, tie a really loose knot. All you want to do is make sure this isn't going to unravel, okay? And that's your corner. You should have your loose tag on one side and this unconnected edge on the other. Do that around all 4 sides and come back, and we're going to connect our loose sides to our closed sides, okay? All right, we got our corners done here, and it's time to connect them. So we can put on our next color. So we untie our little knot. All right, we're going to chain 1, 3, 2, 1. There we go. Just that easy. Untie it, bring it back to where you came out from on your third double crochet, chain 1, not backwards 3, 2, and 1, slip stitch, pull your loop through. That's a really long one, isn't it? We just do this all 4 corners, and we'll be ready to start our last corner, our last color. Now, something I wanted to tell you about the last color. Up to now, it didn't matter whether you started all your colors on the slip stitch side or all your colors on the opposite slip stitch side. It does make a difference when you come to the very last color. Okay, my cat came to help me. Whoops, wrong. Oh my. Where are you? Are you laying on? Yes, you are laying on my hook. Okay, chain 1. Go into my third loop. Slip stitch. Pull my loop through. And that does it for the 4 corners. Now, about this outside one, regardless of whether you have faithfully started every color on the back or faithfully started every color on the slip stitch side, for this purple color on the outside, you need to start it on the back. This is the back. This is your slip stitch side. The reason why is because you want the last row of it to be on the slip stitch side, so it'll look the same. Okay? So, in a minute, I'll be back and we'll start that row. Before we go on to start our outside color, I want to address something because some of you are going to find that your edge looks something like this. No, you didn't do anything wrong. It's the nature of the beast that most people's slip stitch edges will be tighter, and it draws it in. So all you do is you take your square corner to corner and you pull really good, pull along, pull along, pull along your slip stitch all the way to the corners, and then when you relax it, you'll find that you have a nice straight edge. It just allows your inner square to pull out to the right size. Okay? Okay, so now I suggest, because of the trouble I had when I was doing my corner group in the middle down here, where I had started and stopped my slip stitch, I decided it's best to start the slip stitch any other hole except the middle. So I'm going to come down here 2 spaces and tie in my outside color. Drop my outside thread, chain 2. Okay. Now, there's only 2 places that you have to chain 3. One is when you're doing the heel on this side, because you need that extra room, that extra chain on your chain, that extra chain 3 instead of chain 2, to help reach this gap nicely, easily. The other is when you do your corners, they all need to be chain 3. Other than that, change your chain 2, chain 3 according to the specific thickness of your yarn and how tight or loose you crochet. This is thicker yarn. I would never crochet 3 on this, or I'd have big old huge hump on the top there. So go ahead and make your bunches and your corners like normal. And to connect your centers to your corners, this is what we're going to do. Okay, now you can use a single crochet on each side, only for the centers. And you can use a triple crochet to go down in here, all the way in here if you want. Or you want to maintain this edge, you come into the back and back of your edge, pardon me, if you want to, let me reiterate that. If you come all the way down in here, you'll use triples. But if you want to hide it and keep your edge solid, okay, you want to come in here and get your 2 threads and go around. Come through those and do your 3 double crochets in that. Now, on the back you still have your line, and on the inside you still have your line. And then you can chain 1 on this side. It's the only time it really helps to do it because it allows for the extra reach and the extra tightness you get around this area. So, other than that, I'm going to go ahead and go around and do all your bunches, your clusters as normal, and your corner clusters as normal. Where's that little piece? There you are. And when you do the edge, when you do the corner, you're going to use these 2 again. These 2 right here in the on the corner cluster to connect your stitches, so that you have your outside line and your inside lines the same. Okay? All right. So you go ahead and do that. Go up and do your second row, and then we'll do the slip stitch row together. Okay? Okay. Back around the beginning. 3, 2, 1. Slip stitch into my first stitch. Like that. And I'm going to mark the 3rd loop of this cluster and the 1st loop for this cluster, which is what I just slip stitched into. All right. And I'll show you why I do that when we go to connect. To begin with, I'm going to start in the same loop I just connected to. Do a slip stitch. And I told you, guys, I am a tight slip stitcher. Oh yes. So I have to be very careful and be a lot looser on this line than I was on the inner square. That's why my inner square drew in, and that's why I'm going to have to block it. Okay? So, you want this to be loose. It has to be the same tension and the same length and the same size as the ones that you're slip stitching into. Now I'm going to go on down to the corner, and I'll show you how to do the corner. Okay, here we are back at the corner. Make sure you can see all 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. You're going to go in the front edge of each one of those and make sure your chain is nice and loose. You don't want to draw in the corner. I'll leave it out there. There we go. Going down to the middle of the side, and we'll add our chain 1. Okay, I've reached the middle of my side. This is the last. You look at this. This belongs to this stitch. This belongs to this stitch, and this belongs to this stitch. So this is the last of your 3. Now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to come down in the first of your 3. So you have the one that belongs to the last, the one that belongs to the next, the one that belongs to this one here, and the next one is your chain 1. Okie dokie. Okay, and just continue on to the corner. Go around your other side. Make sure you put your chain 1 and mark it in the center of each side. And I'll meet you back at the beginning. Okay? Now when you do start in another spot, you're going to end up ending your second row over the middle of a hole, and you're going to be starting your slip stitch there. So you want to mark the last stitch of your last cluster and the first stitch of your next cluster. This will help you later when you go to connect your centers, because depending on where along here you did, you're going to be going every 2 stitches from your center out, and one way or the other you're going to use one of these. So it helps to have them pre-marked and you know which one you're using. Okay? Alright, back around my slip stitch row. That's the one that goes to the last stitch. This is the one that went to the first stitch. We already put it in there. So I'm going to sneak down in here and we're going to do a slip stitch. And cut. Now I suggest, before you tie this down good, that you bring this marker up higher onto your slip stitch row. In fact, go into the back of that slip stitch. Here's the slip stitch that belongs to this loop. Go into the back of that slip stitch. There. Very good. Okay. And go ahead and tighten down my slip stitch. Tighten down my knot. Whoops, don't you dare. Don't you dare. Now this is a non-stitch. Your knot here is a non-stitch. You have the stitch in front, and you have the stitch in back. This is a non-stitch, okay? That's the whole reason for doing this. The next thing we're going to address. Okay, you have your center thing here, and you're going to skip, for the first one, you're going to skip the one next to it. You're not going to count that one. Not on either side, okay? This is your chain 1. So you're not going to count this one or this one. So your next stitch out is going to be the one that belongs to your last stitch. The next one out from this one is going to be the one that belongs to your last stitch. This gives you a little bit stretchier start on your center, and you won't get confused because of these two guys here. We're going to have, starting from your center, we're going to start at the first, the stitch that belongs to your last on each corner. Okay? The last one here, the first one here. Alright? So we're going to have 1, skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You've got 13 connections here. Divided by 2, that's 6 colors plus 1 row of another. You have 4 inner colors. So now's the time to make a decision. Are you going to go out past and just keep alternating the colors in the same order until you get to the next outside color and then go from there? Or do you want to stop at the corner like you did here? Now if you stop at the corner like you did here, your ending project, where are you? Here we go, will be about 29 inches square. Maybe, let's see, probably about 30 inches square if you stop at the corner. So you have to figure out how you want to work your inner colors. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, or 1, 2, or however you want to do it, alternating your inner colors in here until you get to the edge to add your outer one. Or you can go, you have 13, so you can go 1, 2, 3 for the inner one, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So you can do like 4 rows for this, 3 for that, 3 for that, 3 for that. Figure out how you want to do it. Play with it. Think about it. That's only if you want to stop it here. Now if you want to go on out and let it go out like we did on the other one, like this one. See? We just kept going. We start on the inside, first, second, third, fourth color, and the outside edge color. First, second, third, fourth color, and the outside edge color. See there? And it comes out looking pretty nice that way. So that is the way I'm going to continue to make this one because I like it bigger. And when you do it that way, you end up with between 38 and 42 inches square. All right. Now, we're going to start our inner side again. So, we're going to take our center loop here. Just go out to the one that belongs to the outside edge here. We're going to go through this inner loop, and this loop, just like we did before. That's this inner loop and this inner loop. Okay, that leaves your total front done, open, and your total back open, and you have your border. Pull through our anchor and slip stitch. Okay, drop that, chain 1, All right. Okay. So slip stitch and you chain one. And you have your middle here. This is your chain one. You don't want to use the front edge. We're going to wrap and we're going to go behind that front edge. And I'm going to see if I can get, I don't want to touch the back edge, so I want to get a second stitch here. I haven't touched the back. I haven't touched the front. And that's what I want to go through. I want 2 cords to hold on my center. I'll do my double, wrap, go back through those same 2 cords, just follow my hole, just like that. Okay, and chain 3, and wrap, and go right back into that. Make sure you're following your stitches, your other loops. And you come over here, this belongs to this, this belongs to this, this belongs to this. You want to go through those 2 loops. Whoops. Chain 1 and slip stitch. Okay, there's your middle. Now you're going to chain 2, and you're going to skip 1, 1, 2, go to the next one. This is the one that belongs to the middle of these. We're going to go in the middle, and we're going to slip stitch. Boy, I am really off of it today. Now we're going to go into, we skip 1, go to the next one, and we're going to connect row 2 with a single crochet. Odd ones, chain 1, slip stitch. Even ones, connect on both ends with a single crochet. Now we turn our work, and we do 2 more double crochets into this hole. And we've left a single crochet hole for the next layer up. Come right into our center and do a corner group. And we come right down to our chain 1 space over here, and we put our 3 in here. And because this is an even row, we're going to connect with a single crochet. So we have this one, we skip this one, we go to the second one, down, get those 2 center stitches. Missed the first one. Okay. Connect with a single crochet. You started again. You turn your work. You ended here. Go to your next one. That's a skip. And the next one is the one you go into. It's an odd row. So we started with a slip stitch, and a chain 1. And we wrap and we go into our single crochet space down here. and we do our 3 double crochets. Go to the center, do our next set. We have our single crochet space here. We'll put our 3 doubles there. And because this is an odd row, okay, now I skip one and I go to the next. Remember, we're not using this one, so this is the next one. Now we chain 3, chain 2. Go on this one here. We skip one, go to the next one, and we're going to connect there, the single crochet, because this is the second row, and turn. So we had a chain 1, slip stitch, chain 2, and single crochet into our next anchor. Now we go back into our chain 1 space and do our other 2 doubles. We'll go around to the other side. All right, now I will come back when I get down here. All right, something I need to address before we get to the corners. You're going to be ending on an odd row, and the odd row is going to end differently than we did on the even rows down here when we ended on this. So what you need to do is go on all 4 of your corners and put 2 little attachments here that will allow you to have about the distance of your crochet clusters on the end. I have 2 stitches in mine. Corners have 3 stitches, so I should be off one side or the other when I do this. For some reason, sometimes I'm not. But anyway, what you want to do is you want to start here and you want to go back every other one and find out where you're at and see if you come out even on each side. If you come out odd, in other words, if you have, when you get down here, you have 2 that are skipped instead of 1. You want your skipping spot to be where your dark band is going to cross your dark band. The very next 2 rows I do are going to be this color. So if I have anything that's off, it'll be less noticeable with the dark color against the dark color. But it's good to know now. And if you're doing other colors, you're going to keep, let's say you're not going to do this, you're going to keep doing other colors. It's good to know what you're doing so you can figure out where you have to fudge it. There's always a way to fudge it. And it's better to fudge it with 2 stitches than just 1, or get up to the end and have a big stretch from here to here on one side and a small stretch on the other. Okay? So you start from here and you work your way back down and see if you have to fudge anything coming down. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and come out to the odd row, and I will show you how we have to do the odd rows. Okay? All right. See you then. Okay, a word about fudging. You're going along and you're using every other one. And here's your last one. And you have 2 in the middle instead of 1. You need 3. You got 2. Uh-oh. Well, what you do is, instead of going like this like you normally would, so that they're one apart, you come in here and you go back to the last one you would have used with this one. And you kind of split the difference. See there? It's not as, on the back it looks normal. On the front it doesn't look as bad. It makes it look more normal. So instead of going like this, like you normally would, you could cross back and use the one in back of the last one, like that. And it works really well. Okay? So best place to do that is when you have dark colors together. So if you have dark colors intersecting, that's the best time to do it. Okay? All right. All right. Got some good news for you. We're almost done. We're done with most of the shenanigans. This is the last special row you'll have to deal with. Now you have all your little markers on your corners. On this first pink row, which is our odd row, you can start anywhere. You don't need to start at the slip stitch because then you have to end on the slip stitch, and it's prettier this way. Okay, so chain 2, down my slip stitch, and 2 more double crochets. I'm just going to sneak up on this. Do put your markers in because they really help you find the stitches without stopping and fighting it. It's kind of nice to just crochet without stopping and fighting it. Got to where we slip stitched the last one. We go ahead and put in a regular cluster. Okay. Now we're going to chain 1 and slip stitch, just like we do for the first color of every row. The next step I'm going to show you is how to bridge the gap from here to here. Okay, this is your 13th row. You'll slip stitch into here, chain 2, slip stitch into here, and go over here. But there's a little trick I want you to do in the middle. Now, when I recorded this originally, because you can see I'm clear out to here now. When I recorded this originally, I didn't notice that I put my hands totally out. I had readjusted the camera and I didn't realize it. So I kind of jury-rigged something on the outside corner that I could show you with. And that's why it looks kind of funny, but this is exactly what I showed you inside, only with my hands inside the frame. Okay? Now you have your 2 tags here. You have 2 stitches in between. Okay? And when you connect this 13th row, you're slip stitching into one of these tags. So just like we do on any first row, we chain 1 and slip stitch. Go through and slip stitch. Okay. Now, I want you to look at the back here. You end up with a gapped, like 2 hollow teeth, one on each side when you do it this way. And it no longer makes it look two-sided. So there's a little extra step I want you to go into. Once you come through with your slip stitch, you have your slip stitch on your hook. Come here, Charlie. There we go. I want you to go back into that little step right there, which I kind of made tight. There we go. Go back into that little step, and we're going to slip stitch again. So you bring a loop through the back and through the loop on the hook. So that's 2 slip stitches in a row. 1 into the side and 1 into that little hook and back. And it brings it forward. Brings it together, and it's no longer sticking out there like a grin on a Halloween pumpkin. Okay, chain 2, slip stitch into the other one. Did I get it? Nope. There we go. Slip stitch. And go turn it over. Okay. So we put our hook through there. Do a slip knot through it and through the one on the hook. Chain 1. And then you go on and continue your clusters around to the next side. Okay? Now see? It's two-sided again. The other way it's not two-sided. And I want to show you what I mean, since I've got to take all this out anyway. I'm just going to slip stitch like normal. And chain 2. And slip stitch. Get in there. Did you hear me say slip stitch not like normal? Come on. Okay. And here's what it looks like in front. And here's what it looks like in back. And that's why I asked you to do that extra little step, so you avoid this. Okay? So you slip stitch, and then you slip stitch into this little leg right here. And you chain 2, slip stitch, and you slip stitch into this little leg right here. And that's enough to draw these two together. Okay? That's how you do your corners. And you continue on with your clusters around to the beginning, and I'll show you how to do the next row. Okay? Alright, here we are in the second level. We'll do a cluster in here. And because it's a bit of a reach, we're going to do a chain 1. And then we're going to do a cluster in here. There. We go on and around and around. Then you can put on your next color anywhere. And finish it out. This is going to be very pretty, and you're going to be so proud of yourself when you get it done. You're going to love it. I'd sure like to know what colors you chose. Hope you didn't all choose my colors. I mean, they're bright and pretty, but oh, there's so many gorgeous colors you could use. Anyway, I'll see you back here when I get done with the outside color. Bye-bye. Okay, this is what we'll be ending our throw with. This is the border that we're going to be putting on now. As you can see, when you look at it both sides, it doesn't look like it's facing you. It makes it a really two-sided looking throw. The back looks nice, and the front looks nice. It's called a barred single crochet. Well, I just called it a barred single. To do a barred single, Instead of just going in, pulling through, and coming up like that, you're going to drag your thread forward. So you drag, go in your stitch. When you do it, exaggerate how far down you put your hook. That gives you a place to grab the thread. Okay? See the thread here? You grab it like that, then you pull it up, and then you can let go of it. So it's grab, it's drag, go in the hole, grab, pull up a loop, release it, and finish your single. So it's drag, go in the hole, grab it, pull up a loop, and finish your single. It's basically drag, grab, add it onto a regular single crochet. Now the corners are real easy. You just go in around the whole corner. You don't have to stick into any of the stitches like we did with the slip stitch. So you drag, go right down into the corner, pull up your loop, and you want a minimum of 3, and if you tend to bunch and curl a little bit, make it 4. It depends. If you're a real loose crocheter, you can probably get away with 3 easily. Me, I gotta do 4. Okay, I'm gonna go do a couple more here. This is actually a little bit easier than the barred single slip stitch. There we go. See, my don't curl if I put 4 in them. Really nice look. And you're working on the back side. It makes a big difference with some stitches which side you do it on. The barred single, not so much. It's a pretty safe one to do on both sides. But I have one that will show you here. Slip stitch, single crochet on front, single, okay. This is the back facing side. This is the one I just showed you. This is how it looks as you're crocheting it with it facing you. And you can see that the back is facing you. If you turn it around the other side where the front is facing you, you can see what the front side looks like. It's got a very slight raise here, but it really looks nice. Has a good, nice finished look to it. Now, the barred single crochet doing on the front side is pretty darn close. See here? Front side, see here? Not that much difference. Not that much difference. But the slip stitch, oh my goodness. This is the front facing side doing a barred slip stitch. Look at that. Look at that puppy. Look how it stands up like that. That's a barred slip stitch if the front is facing you. Now, if the back is facing you, it lays down real nice. It has a pretty nice look to it. I do like the look of that. The back has kind of like this braided look, and it does stand up a little bit. I like this for finishing a lot of things, but I don't want it for finishing a two-sided throw. Okay, so as little difference as there is with the single crochet, whether you start in the front and the back, if you do the bar slip stitch, which is just exactly the same way, drag, hold it, and just slip through both of them. Big difference. Big difference. Wow. Okay, so we are done. We are done, and I'm so happy that we got through this. I'm pretty sure that I did a good job of getting questions answered and enough details on everything. If I missed anything, let me know. I'm sure you will. But do let me know in the comments or let me know on my Crystal's Connections where I have the written pattern at. Okay, I'm going to show you how much yarn we got left. I don't have a whole lot of purple left because that's the major color. I got that much purple left of the 7 ounces. And because blue was the next one that didn't use up as much, I've got probably less than half a roll of the blue. So you still, if you're getting the 3.5 ounce skeins, you'd still want to get more than one. Hi guys. At the end of this throw, I wanted to show you what I had left, but I used the jumbo size yarn for both the blue and the amethyst. And on the last video that I made of this, I used the 7 ounce skeins. So I'm cutting in, so I just cut in the end skeins that I used for those, what was left of them. And now I'm going to show you the pink, which you can see looks like more than half of the 7 ounces left. You have less than half of the 5 ounces of the pink variegated, and that's all you have left of the blue variegated. Not really much. Definitely need a whole one to buy another one when you if you make another one of these. Okay, so it's been a nice trip, and I really enjoyed it with you. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope all questions are answered. As ever, if you still have questions, be sure to check out my written instructions, and you can comment and ask questions all you want, and I will be glad to come back and help you. Okay? Enjoy yourself, guys. Happy hooking.